All right, Michael, I got one last question for you. And of course, we saved it for the last because the people want to know. We want to hear the story. What was your worst or your best trade?
I always kind of point to, I guess I'll start good. One of my better trades of the past few years, Dcp Midstream has been one of my favorite picks for quite some time. They're located in the mid-continent. They do natural gas and natural gas processing. I bought a big lug of shares in late March, I think for like $2 and change in March 2020. And today the stock trades at like 35 and change. They just printed, I think this quarter they did $477 million of EBITDA. So I think you annualize that, that was pretty much almost the market cap that it was trading at back then and during the depths of the pandemic. So there's a lot of value there, especially on the midstream side, that's traditionally thought of as, the more kind of safe space, right, in energy. On the bad side, on the poorer side, there's definitely, it's probably, I have to go back a few more years because I feel like at this stage, especially how things have performed lately, right, you could just throw a dart at the dartboard and, energy has probably performed well over a longer term period. But I think one of the bigger mistakes, that I've made was on natural gas. I think maybe in like 2016 or 17, I was just way too early into that idea. I kind of ignored the kind of like associated gas story out of the Permian there for a while. And then, at the end of the day, at the time, Permian oil producers were just producing natural gas. They didn't care what they sold it for. That was when everybody was just flaring the gas. They didn't really care. They just had to get if they could get it to market, they didn't care if they got a penny for it. There was a big kind of like supply demand issue at that time in natural gas. And I was on the wrong side of that trade. And luckily I got out of it without too much blood, but it's definitely kind of like a small stain when I kind of look back at my history in the space. So
that's all right. We all have them, right?
Yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I certainly do.
The key thing is to kind of learn from your mistakes, right? As exactly. Like whenever I have a bad trade, I think the smart thing to do is kind of like take a look back. I think that's the great thing about writing, and for seeking alpha specifically, right? Is you get to look, in words what your thesis was, and then you can kind of look back on it, 6 months, a year, 2 years down the line, and be like, well, I thought this, and this is what happened, and kind of clearly see where things went off the rails, probably. So.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, Michael, we've taken so much of your time. Really appreciate you joining us today.
Of course, anytime. I'm always happy to come on and chat.
We'll have you back on for sure. I know that our guests loved it, and so did we. So you have a great rest of the day, all right?
Yeah, appreciate it.